Hey guys, RJ, CNC Metalworks, and
Levi.
That's right, right hand man right here. We got a new project for you guys. You might remember the Camaro. You can kind of see back there in the background. But this, 67, right?
Yeah.
67 Barracuda. A lot of people start thinking like custom work and you're chopping it up, cutting it all up. But we really believe in saving stuff that most people give up on. This little honey right here was bad and bad as bad could get. Floors inside and out, even roof line, the whole 9 yards. There's not a lot you can get for Barracudas. But we started thinking, Levi gets all the credit for the ideas, if we did a custom, we could do anything we want. Sky's the limit. And so that's what the plans are for this car. We're going to do a full frame, full custom that'll have a lot of tricks and a whole lot of bang for the buck. And we're going to bring this to you in a few episodes. And right now we're going to start with the frame and the suspension setup, which is not going to be original. Okay, this is our used, leftover some old hot rod job that was done a while back from off an old truck. The measurements were great, wheel width wise, so we can run a nice 8-inch wheel and tire combination on this. And once you establish your height, your wheel center, based on your shocks and how high or how low you're going to sit, we've got about a 6 to 7 inch scrub line. That means from the rocker to the ground, you know, what will hit or won't hit. Once we establish about where we want, what looks good to us, how we want the car to sit and act, then we made a piece that would support the cross member and level it to our little homemade frame jig here, which is just a bunch of metal put together dead level. Put it on level floor, built the whole thing level and square and perfected it. That way I know if I put a little degree finder, which is your friend and best buddy doing this stuff, on the frame jig itself, you can see it's jacked up in the back. We're even building this on an off-grade ramp out in front of the shop. And what's amazing about it is that as long as your frame's zero, it doesn't matter. So we jacked it back up until we're zero. And the car was previously squared on the frame jig itself in its first release. Get the car to the jig. The jig is the tool, and you can build anything to that. The neat thing about this being a used piece, one of the reasons it was used and it was changed out, they actually got the pitch wrong by about 3 degrees. And by splitting that 1.5 degrees, we can perfect that. We choose the spindle line being at 6 degrees, which is very common. Any front end alignment can get you there. You can zero it in the center. Once you figure what your degrees are in your tower tops, we had to come up with a 7.3 or 7.4, but our spindle line is on 6 degrees, and that's how far ours was. So we could compensate for us because we can put this anywhere we want to. Once we centered that up and wedged and degreed it, we tied it. If you notice, it's some simple spot welds in the back. This thing cannot move. It's set in stone. It's where it's going to be. But it's the start of our entire frame. So what you want to do then is back here, if you look back here, you'll see we picked out off the old pinch molding and the old subframe rails that was basically a unibody car, like a lot of 60s cars that were built. And once all the rot was cut out of the way, we established our width. It was fairly close, but we knew how we could tie this in. And we ran our rails all the way to the back that'll pick up the rear end later. And we just simply put in some short stock that guarantees just 2 pieces off the frame jig, because we already know it's straight. We put this piece in vertically. It's square, checked, rechecked, measured. So your best 2 buddies in any of these jobs, this little degree finder and this measuring tape, a lot of other hand tools, but if you're critical with these, you can get anything straight. You can get it perfect. We're dead set on both sides. Then we had to tie in. We had to tie in the space. And it's a simple piece, but we wanted a little kick up, obviously, like any dog leg in a frame. And you just simply come in with a measurement. You can set your lines with just some simple cardboard. Everybody knows this trick. It's just poster board that you make a pattern off. You go convert it into steel, and we start welding this in. Now when we finish, we'll actually come in here, cut these lines, squeeze this over, pinch this off. Then the beauty of this, there'll be a triangulated piece that'll come in here, finish this out real nice, Triangle's the strongest geometric force, we know that, and it supports the movement of the up and down, the most pressure on the entire thing. That'll all be supported by this. And once we tie in the actual body, and we'll put in the rest. We got a whole bunch more coming for y'all. Rear end stuff will be next. We'll go through all that setup, and then we'll do the middle where we tie the body to the car and get her off the frame machine the first time rolling. It'd be a lot of fun. Thanks.
And we'll be dropping a 440 in it.
Oh my gosh, squeezing it. My dad used to say this thing about shoehorning something, and he was notorious about putting things in like big blocks and small cars, but he got her done.
You're talking about your elbows length right now, and that whole big block has to sit in here.
Even
and
this little pinch, we're guessing on measurements, but this little pinch is about where our dumps will be on our rear dump headers. If not, we'll be making headers, and we'll show you that video too. All right, one of the first things we have to establish on this ride is getting rid of all the ugly and all the rust and all the stuff that is unnecessary or battered, beat, wore out, and nasty, or that has to absolutely be replaced. And as you can look down through there, you can see we pretty much hollowed the old barrel out, almost like you'd be building a drag car or a race car. Well, what we decided to do is gave us an opportunity to build a custom frame for it. And we managed to come up with some budget pieces. You can find a lot of neat things aftermarket, but this is a older or used, and we revamped it. Heights front end, obviously Mustang 2, but updated. Tubular suspension, disc brakes, nice little rack. We'll run power on that later. We're gonna change the lower A-arms so we can run adjustable coilovers on this. So it'll really be a nice setup. Sway bar, everything custom made. Once we jig these points in our custom frame jig that we actually built here in house, because you need something that's dead level, dead square, something you can square the car up to. As you can see, the jig points in the car, everything's measured to death. We repeat the measurements more than anything here.
And you'll see that throughout the video.
There's a lot of measuring, yeah. But the cool part is it's the insurance in any job. If your measurements are right and you don't give up on that last little hairline that you want, you can really perfect this stuff. Just be patient. The key is being patient. So once we established our line, basically threw a wheel on it and looked at it and says, man, that looks good in the tub. It's a little too deep or it's a little too shallow. Once you find that center line, then we established a point left to right. Then we established our depth. We used measurements that went all the way to the end of the car. So we treat the car like it's just a big old box. So you do a tram, that's an X, and we do 3 X's, short, and then one big long trim, and you pick a common point. Shark tower points are very good points, and then the square measurement in the rear. Once all these are established, the last thing you got to do is, once you start spotting this in, you'll see in the video, we start degreeing it. You'll see that little degree wheel used a lot. 6 degrees in your axle point, or spindle point, in this case the rolling center, is about normal. Think of a loaded grocery cart. A loaded grocery cart, if y'all have ever done one when you was a kid and pushed it backwards, it gets all crazy. But as a grocery cart's built like a wedge, cars act the same way in their geometry. This is a total Ackerman. All your different measurements that come into play, so it drives and handles really sweet. And then what we wanted to do is start tying in our frame rails. We want to stay just below the frame line, or the the floor line. Yeah, right at the floor line. You can actually see them. We're right at it, and we'll be able to drop our floors in here, establish custom mounts for the drive line, and then we'll build a custom floor pan after we get the back set up.